The Arkansas CW presents Do the Ozarks, featuring the Arkansas CW crew.
What's up, guys? Jeremy here.
Jayma.
And Ron.
And with Arkansas CW, today we're here at the Titanic.
Welcome aboard. You've got your boarding passes in hand,
Yes,
and
we
that
are.
tells you on the front there the name of a real Titanic passenger.
Okay, so.
At the very end, we're going to find out if your person survived.
Okay.
So here's what. We made it inside of the ship, and we have the iceberg right here. So what we want you to do is make sure you rub it 3 times for good luck. That's our tradition here at the Titanic.
It's real ice right here?
It's real ice. Touch it and see.
We're gonna touch it and see.
Look at her line.
That's cold.
Yes. That's So, our tradition, so
that was
make sure you rub it for luck because you do not want to go on Titanic with bad luck, right?
Let me rub
We
it
do.
for-
We
Let me rub it for Sir Thomas Keelan.
So I'm really curious how they transported this here.
Well, that's an ancient Titanic secret, my
Okay,
dear.
thank you.
Let's get on board.
So can you tell us a little bit about this?
I sure can. Now, we've seen a lot of things today, and I do want you to know that in the museum with you right now, we do have over 400 real Titanic artifacts that are valued at over $4 million. And every year we take things out, bring new things in, so anytime you come back, there's always something different to see. And we've just gotten a new artifact, and the crew and everybody is very excited about it. Now, if you've heard a documentary, or you've watched a movie, or read a book even about Titanic, one of the topics that come up is, if the lookouts in the crow's nest had only had the binoculars.
Right.
Well, here's the deal. The binoculars were on the ship. They were in a locker. And they couldn't find the keys to the locker to get the binoculars out. You see, there had been a change of command right there, right as Titanic is leaving out. Captain Smith makes a change. Well, Davy Blair, who was about to go on the was on the Titanic, was already suited up and ready. It was a very common thing to change things up like that at last minute. And off he goes off Titanic to the other ship. Long gone now the Titanic. We've hit the iceberg right ahead. Well, the binoculars were there the whole time, but the keys were off with Davy Blair.
Oh.
So the keys, where were they? Well, now we know. They're right here.
Wow.
These are the ones. These are
These
Davy
are
Blair's
the
keys.
keys.
These are the famous binocular box keys.
Wow.
And these little tiny keys right here are valued today at over $100,000.
Wow. Wow.
Mystery solved, right?
So in other words, if those keys on the other side of the glass don't touch that, because I can't.
Yes, there's a reason they're there. Absolutely. So we're glad you've come aboard today to see all these things.
We're glad to be here.
That is amazing to see, actually. I mean,
So can we move over here and see what we have?
Absolutely. We're going to go into third class now and see what the fans look like in third class.
Okay.
Off we go.
all right.
So, it looks like we're somewhere different. Where are we?
Well, we made it into third class, so you see the rivets and the beams exposed, the way the light fixtures looked, and then of course you look inside and you'll see what your cabin looked like if you were third class. Now at first glance it looks like we have miniaturized it. We have not. We have built it from the actual paper blueprints of the Titanic, and it doesn't look a lot to you and I, very primitive. But in 1912 on the ocean liners, this class of passengers would have had to bring their own food and their own bedding for the entire week of the trip. But not on the Titanic. You opened up your cabin and you saw spring-coiled mattresses, crisp white pillowcases, running water in the room, 3 square meals a day
Running
provided
water?
for you.
Okay, all right.
So
Can't complain about
107
that.
years ago, this was a big difference
Of
than
course.
bringing your food for the week and sleeping on whatever you can round up, right?
Of course. Of
Mhm.
course. You can't complain
So
about
even
that at
in
all.
third class on the White Star Line, you were treated with dignity and respect. Yes.
Wow, that is wonderful to see. So are we going to explore some more places around this area?
Oh yes, we've got to get to first class,
Okay,
right?
we're going to follow your
of
lead
course.
first. All
How
right.
can we get here without first class? Come on.
So, can you tell us where exactly we are now?
Yes, we're about the halfway mark on our tour, but if we were on the real Titanic, the grand staircase, the crown jewel of the Titanic. This would be located right in between that first and second smokestack of the Titanic. Now, this room that we're in right now, it is the actual size. And we have built this using the real paper blueprints of the Titanic.
Wow, I gotta
But
tell
we've
you,
only
it's
built
something.
just the top 2 levels. These stairs would have went down for another 5 stories. We're just on the tippy
5
top 2.
stories. It looks so authentic around. It looks beautiful.
It does. You know, this room is actually what we call our $1 million staircase because it really did cost this museum $1 million just to recreate this room alone.
I can see why. I can see why.
Of
Very
course,
high
you
quality.
have crystal chandeliers, 24 karat gold leafing on the balustrade, and this is real gold. We just had ours retouched. But the floor on Titanic. That was the thing that they were most proud of, the most elegant thing in the entire ship. Most people think it was a marble floor if it was Titanic. It was not. It was a new invention. Only rich and famous people could even think about affording. It was a brand new product called linoleum.
Oh, wow.
Awesome.
I thought it was marble. I'm not even gonna lie.
I know.
Too fancy.
Yeah, too fancy.
Can't
Pinkies
do
up.
it.
Well, here's what. In 1912, a linoleum floor really would cost you more than granite or marble. It was considered the height of luxury.
Wow.
Cream of the crop.
Cream of the crop.
Only the best for Titanic,
Only
right?
the best.
There you go.
So I'd love to see more around this place. If
Okay,
you'd like to show
here we
us.
go.
All right.
So this is a lot different than what we're used to seeing today. Could you tell us a little bit about these life jackets here?
Yes, I can. This is a very special exhibit, and we are over the moon that we get to have them here. What you're looking at are the Titanic life jackets. This is our life jacket exhibit. It will not be here with us very long. It's only going to be here until June 15th, okay? Now, it's taken about 2 years to gather these and get this all together legally. All of the contracts, all the insurance, all the provenances declared, everything like that. On the Titanic, out of the 3,000 plus Titanic life jackets that were on board the ship, only 12 are known to exist in the world today. We've been able to obtain 6 of those, and they're here now. And they're from private collections from around the world. So, yes, that's a pretty big deal.
Yeah.
Now, the life jackets, all they were linen over 12 pieces of cork, okay? But they did their job, you know, they kept them floating. The problem was it was in 28-degree water. And after about 15 to 20 minutes, you succumb to hypothermia, you know? So unless you were in a lifeboat, it's the end of it for you. So out of these 6, only 2 that we know for sure who they belong to. The others would be unidentified bodies, okay? So the first one would be Madeline Astor. She was married to the richest man on board, and her life jacket alone is valued at over $1 million. Wow. Yes. Wow. Now the other is Miss Laura Francatelli, and hers is very, very interesting because she's actually signed it and had the other people in her lifeboat sign it as well. So it's very, very rare.
Yes.
Yes. And this is the first time ever in history this family has allowed this particular life jacket out of any type of public display. So when you look at the life jackets all lined up, keep this in mind. This is the first time they've been together in one place since they were on the Titanic.
That's
Wow,
amazing.
when you put it that way, it really puts it in perspective.
Since 1912, 2019, I mean,
Yeah.
Could you give us an idea of how they saved these life jackets?
Well, here's what, you know, when you get onto the rescue ship, they were not worried about the life jackets. It's the last thing they're thinking about. They're thinking about the humans, the people. They're not thinking one day there will be a museum and I want
Right.
documentation of this.
Right.
No. Actually, what they did was they just piled them up in a big pile, you know. So, for example, Madeline Astor, she was 5 months pregnant when she was on the Titanic, and she lost her husband. Even though he was the richest man on board, that did not save him. So she's getting off onto the rescue ship, the Carpathia, and the doctor on board, of course, takes her right in to make sure she's okay. She's in her delicate condition, and she hung the life jacket on the back of his door, and then after she left, he kept it. So that's one instance you can see how he kept it. And in this case, she was wearing it, you know. The other life jackets, you know, if you see one that's been cut on the straps, that means that's one of the ones that they retrieved from the ocean. Yeah. And we actually have a very interesting picture here to the right of those life jackets I talked about piled up on the Carpathia, and you can see how easy it was to just dismiss those.
Well, let's go.
alrighty, so this looks kind of familiar to me, but I'll let you take it away since you're the expert.
We're on the Captain's Bridge, and this is exactly what it looked like. Really, the only difference between ours and the real one would be these 2 walls would be completely open. You could walk right out onto the decks. But here we are, the Captain's Bridge. Now, a lot of people have visions of grandeur, and they think Captain Smith was standing here and he rammed us right into the iceberg. That's not how it happened, okay? Very seldom did the captain or any officer ever touch this wheel. That's not their job. Their job is to give this guy the orders what to do with that wheel. So you have a quartermaster steering the wheel. On this particular night, Captain Smith had been to a dinner party in his honor. He was going to retire after Titanic. It was his last voyage. We know Captain did not survive. So he's left Officer Murdoch in charge of the bridge. Robert Hitchens is the quartermaster. There would be a row of telephones on the back wall. There's a telephone in the crow's nest, like a switchboard type operation. You never want the phone to ring. The phone rang. The conversation went just like this. He picked it up and said, "What did you see?" The answer came back, iceberg right ahead. And from the time he said that until the time they hit it, only 37 seconds had passed. Yeah, so I often think about the man who was holding that wheel. Titanic is as tall as a 14-story building. It's as long as almost 4 city blocks, and you've got 2,208 passengers and crew, lives literally in your hand. And when he hits that iceberg, you know it had to shudder every bone in his body. So I often think about him when I'm thinking about the wheel of the captain's bridge.
Everything just happened so swiftly.
Yeah, very quick.
And then if you look out, I would imagine this is what it looked like
Yes.
that night. So like you can barely see anything.
Yeah, they said it was a moonless night. You know, the stars are out there, and the idea that there's an iceberg out there just waiting for you was the farthest thing from their minds.
Give me a chill down my spine just now. Just thinking about that.
Who's going to drive today?
Yes, if I'm allowed to touch this thing, I
Hold it
guess I can
steady,
steer.
no popping wheelies.
All right, master.
Hopefully I'm steering pretty good, you know.
See, you're
Keeping us
turning it
in
just
line.
like Robert Hitchens would,
Keeping us in
hard
line.
to starboard. That was the order he was given.
Okay.
He would have turned it that direction.
Wow, that's just doing this. It's like it just makes you wonder, like how it actually was.
It
when he was
does.
doing it. That's
So
crazy.
it was so dark. So how did they know the iceberg before you hit the iceberg?
Exactly.
How did?
Yeah, he did it.
They did it. Okay.
Well,
Okay.
they're so close up on it. That was the problem. They couldn't see it in time, and by the time they were literally right up on it, it was
It
too
was
late.
already-
It wouldn't have mattered how fast he turned the wheel. It was just too long of a ship and too short of a distance, and that's when he was trying so feverishly to get out of the way. But it was too short of a time.
I said, I don't think I've seen such a flat sea.
Oh, let's go see something else.
Off we go. Let's go up to the promenade.
We'll make the boats harder to see. No.
Woo, guys, it got cold in here.
Well, now you know why I started out wearing my shawl at the beginning.
Can you tell us where we are now?
We're on the Promenade Deck, and you've noticed it's turned nighttime really quick on us.
did.
Yeah? This is a part of the tour where we simulate walking outside on the decks of Titanic. You hear it. Yes. The temperature had turned very cold. In fact, the temperature that night was 32 degrees. So that's why you're noticing this temperature change.
We noticed the drastic temperature.
We're going to hit it.
This is crazy. It's so wonderful being here. Guys,
Maybe we should get something warmer, yeah?
Someplace warmer. Off we go.
Okay, so, sloping of the deck, what's this?
All right, well, this is our interactive gallery, and there's a lot of things to touch and feel and do in this room. You know, believe it or not, kids are our #1 repeat visitor who come to the museum. Most museums you don't touch, don't do that, just look and walk on by. That's not this place. You get to be very interactive with the things, including this, the interactive deck. And this is situated to show you how much the Titanic really starts to rear up out of that water and how quickly. So at 150, right here, okay, you can hold on pretty good, but from 150 to 205, she's already started that much. And from
15 minutes.
just that short a time. And from 205 to 218, she's almost completely out of the water. Now the last one at 2:18 a.m., at 2:20, Titanic is completely under the ocean. So if you're holding on to that one, you're literally holding on for your dear life.
Sounds like a little under 30 minutes.
Yeah, well, here, and keep this in mind too, the temperature is 32 degrees. This is metal, and if you've ever tried to hold on to something metal in the wintertime, ow, yeah. They didn't have rubber sole shoes like you and I do. It would have been very slick bottom shoes, and all of this would have been wet. And just because you could have held on doesn't mean all the 700 other people and all the deck chairs and all the furniture could. All of that's coming down on you too. So it was no easy just, oh, I'm able to hang on and that's the end of it. There's a lot more going on than that. Yeah.
Wow, that is crazy. So can we possibly jump in and
You're
try
welcome
this?
to try your hand.
She said it was interactive.
Let's get in there and do it.
Absolutely.
You want to try it? Let's try the
Jamie,
short
you
slope.
gonna-
See.
okay.
So 150, how do you feel in there?
I mean, it would be pretty hard, wet, and slippery.
Yeah.
Slope.
30-degree slope, man.
2:05 a.m. is a little bit.
Oh man, this even gets steep. See, I got these boots on and they're a little slick on this wood, so just imagine back then. That is,
So at 45 degrees, 218. Oh, jeez.
Now imagine that without your shoes.
Yeah, no, that would have been like,
that'd be bad.
Yeah.
I'm sliding down. I'm going down with her.
But hopefully you were not here. Hopefully you would have made it into a lifeboat.
Hopefully,
Yeah.
that would have been ideal.
That's right.
There were so many people out there didn't know. So
Well, we better go find a seat in the lifeboat for you.
Oh,
Okay.
Okay.
there she is.
All right, go ahead and find your seat.
all right.
It's a disaster.
So this is size that has been cut in half. So they're very big. A lot of people think they were small, like canoe size. No, they were very large. Capacity for a lifeboat was 65 people. Most of the lifeboats left half filled. And in one case, one of the lifeboats leaves completely with no people in it. It gets flipped over the side, turned upside down in the water.
Oh.
So what you had was a complete fiasco. There were no mandatory lifeboat drills. Over half the crew have no idea how to load them properly, let alone lower them properly.
Wow.
So the lifeboat drill that Sunday had been canceled. Captain Smith canceled it so he could hold a Sunday service.
Okay.
But the laws had been on the books since around the late 1900s. By now, 1800s. By now, we were up to 1912, and the laws really stated you only had to have enough lifeboats per poundage of ship. It wasn't based on per person, because the idea that this many people would ever be on one boat this big was futuristic talk. They couldn't even fathom it, but here it was happening, and they add that many people. So you can't just build a Titanic and tear off out into the ocean with her. You have to have inspections done. Titanic passed the British Board of Trade inspections with flying colors. So just like today, laws sit on the books and become outdated and obsolete, and that's exactly what happened in this case.
Wow.
But after Titanic went down, those laws were immediately changed. You had to have enough lifeboats for every person on board, and you also had to have mandatory lifeboat drills.
Okay.
So you had an officer in charge of a lifeboat, and to an untrained eye, it would look pretty full. What he hadn't been trained to do was take you and I and scoot us all the way to the front, all the way, and then we could add an entire other row of people behind us. But if you weren't trained to do that, how would you know?
Of course.
So when you have to sit through a boring old safety meeting and you think, oh no, imagine if the crew on Titanic had to sit through a boring old safety meeting. Things might have turned out different, right? Well, okay, we were in the lifeboat, and if we were not in a lifeboat, we would be in this 28-degree water. We do keep a basin of water here at the museum, and we keep it at 28 degrees, which is the temperature the ocean was that night. So, you know, you can dip your fingers in, go right ahead, and see how it's very cold. You can think about 28-degree water, but until you touch it or feel it, then you get the full emotion of what that was really like. And keep this in mind, they had their shoes, their socks, all their clothes,
it's getting painful.
a life jacket on,
already.
and you would have been in this water up to here at least. And the temperature outside was 32 degrees. So when we say interactive, we mean interactive.
We just put our fingers in there for like, what, 20
10
seconds?
seconds?
And it was
Yes.
always painful.
And we do have, a timer, and people can come in and put their hands in and press the timer and see how long they might have lasted. Whereas everybody thinks, I'll make the 3-minute mark, no problem. About 15 seconds in, whoop, they're getting out of there.
All right, guys. So it's time to find out if our passenger survived. So we'll have to get into it.
As you can hear, there's a little bit of somber music playing, so it doesn't sound like most of us survived.
Yeah.
So I'm going to look for Sir Thomas Keeland. He was a crew member, a library steward.
Okay.
And let's see. So how do we know who a surviving person was?
Well, if they're underlined, they survived, and they're alphabetized by last name. So you're looking for Mr. Kelland. Here he is.
So, ladies and gentlemen, I've perished with the Titanic.
Yeah, if you take a look at the amount of crew, they took the hardest hit out of everybody on Titanic as far as the sheer amount of people.
All right, guys. I'll be looking for first class passenger Edward Austin Kent. So head over here to first class.
Last name.
Looking for Mr. Kent? There he is.
Guys, Edward Austin Kent did not survive as well.
And I have Alice Johnson, third class passenger, age 26.
Yeah, look at the sheer amount of how many third-class passengers as well.
And she survived?
Yeah.
Yes. It says a gentleman gave up his seat for her and her daughter. So because the boat wasn't full, so he saved their lives.
Yeah, there were a lot of heroes that night. You
Yeah.
could find that if you research and look. So many people, had a seat in a lifeboat and would give up their seat or give up their life jacket to somebody. It's just that human element.
That's an amazing thing to do.
Yeah. So see there, your people, and even the ones who didn't survive, these passengers, when you first came aboard, and I handed you that paper, it was just a piece of paper.
Right.
But now when you find out what they went through, I guarantee you, when you leave today, you'll be holding that boarding pass a little bit tighter when you leave than when I first handed it to you, right?
Small paragraph that I'm reading here. It says my guy was a library steward, but he says I added life-saving to my responsibilities.
Wow.
He helped passengers out in the ship.
That's right.
Onto life. So that's pretty.
That's really something.
Everybody did what they could.
Exactly.
So, 107 years ago, these people thought that everybody had forgotten about them. That was it, the end of the line for them. And here it is, 107 years later, we haven't forgotten. And that's what we do here every day at the Titanic Museum. And we often say, every day, how do you pay tribute to those who passed on? You simply tell their story. And that's what we're honored to do.
Definitely. Well, guys, definitely come check out the Titanic Museum. The artifacts are amazing, the interactivity is amazing, but also what is amazing are the people behind there.
Guys,
Crew members, the crew, the passengers, everything.
It's been a wonderful experience, guys. I'm really glad I got the chance to come here. What about you, Jen?
I'm really glad we came. This is one of the best museums I've been to, honestly.
So guys, listen, if you haven't got the chance to come out, please do so. Please, I guarantee you, you'll have the time of your life, and you've been a wonderful tour guide.
Yes.
Thank you very much. It's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Do the Ozarks, featuring the Arkansas CW crew.